Okay, for something a little bit different, we're going to be narrating a race at Road America in the Skip Barber in iRacing. I'm not doing the live recording for the simple reason that I have to work out how to eliminate in post the clicking sounds of my paddle shifter, which drives me insane. I know some folks manage to do that. I haven't worked that out, but yet at the start of this small field Skippy Barber race at Road America, only 8 cars. I qualified 5th with my incredibly high ranking of iRating of 1.3 thousand. And we see here that at the first turn I'm followed by Anthony, and Anthony will not realize exactly how slow I am and give me a little 2x, which is going to hamper my safety rating a little bit. It's a slightly gray day at Road America. The Skippy used to be one of the most popular cars in iRacing, with huge splits. For many years. I think I've had hundreds of starts in this car, and a couple of victories in my stellar 11 wins total in 15 years of iRacing. Yeah, as somebody spins out in the background. Like I was saying, the Skippy used to be a very popular car, with the races almost always splitting at all times of the day. And now, especially after the introduction of the Formula Fords and even the Formula 4s, the attendance has gone down quite considerably. Here I'm following Christian Wuchner, who has an iRating of 2,700, and I kind of, and he almost loses it there, and I kind of didn't want to get into too much of a battle because my safety rating right now is extremely poor, and due to one too many collisions in Formula Ford, particularly in the rain. And Road America remains an incredibly beautiful track. This variation has the so-called bend, interrupting the kink, and this is the famous Canada corner. Very difficult corner, no matter which car you take it in. As I was saying, the Skippy, an incredibly fun car, very forgiving, with a very nice balance. You're able to throw it around, even on tires that are not warmed up yet. Here I get a good draft. Road America is famous for 2 very drafty sections at the front straight here and on the back straight. And here I decided that safety was the better half of valor, or whatever you call it, and I stayed tucked behind Christian. The front of the field basically took off. Wayne, I believe, went on to lead every lap. Spoiler alert. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, because this series is not so popular anymore, it rarely splits, and you have these very small fields. 8 in this case is in some more European and American friendly time zones. You might get slightly bigger fields. Here in Asia, it's difficult during the weekend even to get more than 10 or 12 cars. As I mentioned, here we only have 8, and it is a gray day, no rain, fortunately, but not very sunny either, and 22 degrees Celsius. This is the carousel, which is always a big test of patience, because you have cars that either want to understeer or oversteer, or in many cases both. So it's a very tricky corner to get it right, and then it sets you up for what is the very, very long straight after the kink, and all the way to Canada Corner, which is very difficult, very technical, very easy to outbrake yourself. You always have to run wide, use all the track and more. It doesn't penalize you. The sim doesn't penalize you for riding over the white lines there. Sometimes it's a bit random. Most other tracks, exits like that will be penalized. And then this long straight, which is even in less powerful cars like the Skippy, a good opportunity to draft. Number one, and the Skippies are very draft sensitive, into this relatively fast right-hander, and then all the way downhill to a much slower turn 2, which sets you up for the long back stretch, which is very well known to racing fans, and it will come to the with turn 3, which is a very heavy braking zone. Depending on the car, I do it at the 300, 200 or 100 meter signboard. Here's that braking point, and very easy. Here too you can run wide, but basically if you touch any of that gravel or grass, obviously you get an incident point and you get penalized for it. This corner is difficult because it's extremely slow, and this is here instead is a very fastish right-hander that sets you up for another passing zone if you were the kind of driver that can actually pass cars successfully, which in my case it's often not the case. We have to probably practice about a gazillion hours more. And the Skippy, painted in my very exciting natural colors, and with my helmet that I've always kept, that red and white helmet, since the beginning of my sim racing and real life racing and karting. I always had that red and white helmet. And once more for the Canada Corner. So this race went on to be not particularly exciting, and Wayne at the end of the day did win it. It's a 9-lap race, so about 20 plus minutes, and like I mentioned, I want to be able to capture it as I'm going, but I have to work out eliminating those pesky upshifts and downshifts, clicks, which are really overbearing. I know I can do it in post once I become more proficient in post, which remains to be seen. As I fall underneath the real cheese sign, I concluded this cheesy brief video, again testing as I again get a great draft, and under braking I really had to watch myself not to do what happened to me on lap 1, and maintain the distance. It went on like this for pretty much that first two-thirds of the race, and then the last third of the race, Christian just started making great progress and distancing himself more. And here I will let Anthony Kneebone pass because he was much faster anyway, so there's really no point in holding him back. Oh my goodness, what a disaster, what a disaster. Disaster video, a disaster race, but at least except that 2x at the lap 1, those that incident points at the beginning of the race for that rear end touch, the race was fairly good in terms of safety rating, and you see that Anthony passes has a good battle with Christian as well, and I think while they did go side by side by a bit, eventually Christian also realized that there was no sense holding back the much faster car, and here I find myself tucked again behind Christian. But as I mentioned, for the first two-thirds of the race I was able to stay there, but then it was just impossible. I would start making too many errors if I tried to keep up the pace. I saw after the race that our best lap times were very similar, but he was able to do it more consistently for all 9 laps in all sections of the track, so no sense continuing this. I knew that if I tried to keep up the entire race, I would eventually end up in the gravel or a wall, and I was really trying to do this race first to try to do a capture, and second to get a little bit get my elbows out again with the Skippy, which I hadn't raced in a while, and it's always, as I mentioned, a fun car. And Road America is one of those tracks that if you get a chance, you will race it. There are some tracks, Road America Spa, Suzuka, of course, Monza for personal reasons, that anytime with any car you get a chance to race on, you're always very willing to participate. You see a little bit of oversteer there. This is the dynamic camera view of iRacing, so I'm not really controlling the views, but good fun car, great track. Let's say that with a larger field and a more equal field, it would have been a little bit more fun. You see, you have to kind of feather the throttle there, otherwise this is very tricky. This fast interruption of the kink with this kind of weird chicane. You kind of have to set it up right in order to get good exit speed. And this is a few more minutes. I was trying to find different camera angles, but I was not able to, so we were later on the lap 6 of the 9-lap race, and you see that slowly but surely Christian is pulling away from me already, about almost 2 seconds. And that will eventually grow quite significantly, especially as towards the end of the race, I made a couple of mistakes, not huge. You see here again, the car, as the laps progress, tends to, the rear end starts to get a little bit looser. And as I mentioned, I made a couple of mistakes later in the race that would amplify that gap considerably. And as the laps progress, I'm finding it harder and harder to keep up with Christian. And a little bit later, again, you see the gap now well and truly has expanded to 4 seconds, over 4 seconds. and I decided about here that, you know what, I am going to keep my sixth position, a stellar sixth position. Out of 8 drivers, I wasn't last. That was a, you know, you see it here, big mistake, big lockup, and I just managed to keep the gray stuff, which helped me avoid any incident points. But here I was like, hey, you know what? See you. Bye bye, Christian. It was nice following you, but at the beginning of the race I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I, you know, follow him closely, then at the last lap I'll get a little daring. No daring, no such thing. So this was pretty much the end of the race for me, and I will go on to take the checkered flag about a lap and a half later. But I think that for the purposes of this first race video, again, rear end, just wanting to snap out for the purposes of this first video. I think this will do. I have to work on my editing skills, because it's wow. But you can really see the Skippy, despite the bad director and the bad video quality, you can really see the Skippy, how it has that fun manageability, but at the same time it has enough to make itself interesting. Okay, great race for Wayne, great race for podium finisher Jeremy and Ken, and as far as I'm concerned, okay, survived until the next one.